What if the name you've built your entire identity around turned out to be a lie? For many family historians, a surname, well, it's everything. It's a connection to a homeland, to a clan, or to a story. But what happens when a single DNA test reveals that it was all built on a secret kept for over 100 years? This is the story of how that test can shatter an identity, but then yet help build a new one no one could have ever imagined. Join us as we discuss this and more today on Trace Your New England Roots. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. For any passionate genealogist, a surname can be more than just the label. It can become a whole identity. Imagine a researcher, we'll call him John, whose last name is Campbell. For him, that name means everything. He grows up on incredible stories about his ancestors, the fierce, noble Highlanders from Argyll. He learns about the ancestral castle, the ancient seat of the clan chiefs, a place the Campbells have been for centuries. He learns about his family crest with its motto, "Do not forget." It isn't just a picture on the wall. It's a code that he lives by, signifying loyalty, resilience, and an unbreakable tie to his heritage. This kind of connection often grows into a full-blown obsession. A researcher like John might have a closet with more tartans in it than actual clothes. The classic Campbell tartan, the more muted dress tartan. He might drag his patient family to countless Highland games to cheer for the caber toss and try to appreciate the sound of the bagpipes. His prized possession could be a replica of a historical artifact that is tied to his clan. It's a great story for visitors who come into the home. The family tree becomes a masterpiece. The researcher might trace his Campbell line back generation by generation, all the way to a man who came to America from Scotland in the late 1800s. This ancestor is the brick wall. It's the end of the paper trail. But in the researcher's mind, he is the direct link to the glens and lochs of the homeland. Every document uncovered with Campbell on it, it feels like another piece of a sacred puzzle that confirms exactly who he is. For someone this invested, their identity is built on the bedrock of that single powerful name. It's rarely, if ever, questioned. And like anyone who gets deep and involved in genealogy, a researcher eventually hits that point where the paper trail just goes cold. And for a person like our hypothetical John, that brick wall is his great-grandfather, the Scottish immigrant. Now, he might have immigration papers, census records, or even a death certificate, but there is no definitive birth record in Scotland. There could be dozens of men with the same name born around the right time, with no way to prove which one is his. It's the one infuriating gap in an otherwise perfect family story. For years, this genealogist might, or this genealogist might tell themselves that it doesn't really matter. The records in their home country are solid, and that's enough. But that question mark always lingers. The desire to connect their branch of the family back to the main trunk in Scotland, and it's very, very strong. They they want to see in black and white the definitive link to the ancestral lands. And that's when they often learn about a very specific type of DNA test. This is the Y DNA test. While popular autosomal tests give ethnicity percentages and connect cousins from all sides of a family, they aren't specific enough for this purpose. The magic of Y DNA is that it focuses only on the Y chromosome, which is passed directly from father to son with remarkable consistency, generation after generation. It acts like a genetic surname that traces a single unbroken paternal line back for centuries. And for anyone trying to prove a surname line, it's the ultimate tool. The logic here is simple. A man with the surname Campbell who takes a Y DNA test should see his results closely match other Campbell men, especially those with roots in the same part of Scotland. It would be the scientific proof needed to finally jump over that brick wall, break through it, and confirm that his immigrant ancestor was in fact one of these Campbells. So the test is ordered. It doesn't feel like a gamble. It feels like it's just a formality. And it's the final victory lap. A kit with a simple cheek swab arrives. The swabs are sealed and then sent back to the lab. The genealogist is confident that in 6 to 8 weeks they'll have their proof. They have no idea they're about to unlock a story, but it isn't the one that they're expecting. And the wait for the results is often filled with nerdy excitement. A researcher like John might spend hours on a clan DNA project website looking at how the results are grouped, trying to guess where their own results will fit in. They see clusters of men who all descend from a specific line, their genetic signatures telling a story of shared ancestry. They picture the results popping up right there in the middle of one of those groups. John may find a new cousin and a new connection is made. Then the email arrives. The subject line is straight to the point. Your Y DNA results are ready. Now this is the moment of truth. Logging in, John logs into the results page and it then loads. At first, it's just a mess of letters and numbers, and the first thing to check is the match list, the whole point of the test for genealogy. This is where you find other people who share a common paternal ancestor. Scrolling down, John fully expects to see a long list of Campbells, maybe MacDonald or a Stewart mixed in, which are common names from the Highlands. But the names on the screen, they're not Scottish. Rosenberg, Cohen, Goldberg, Adler, Kaplan. Not a single Campbell, not even one. John's first reaction isn't shock, it's confusion. This has to be a mistake. a sample mix-up. This is just impossible. He refreshes the page, he logs out, logs back in, and the same names are back. Goldberg, Adler, Cohen. Then it's time to look at the other key piece of information, which is the haplogroup. A haplogroup is like a major branch on the human family tree, representing a population that shares a distant ancestor from thousands of years ago. As a student of Scottish history, John would know R1b and R1 are very common haplogroups for men with Scottish and Norse Viking roots. One of those has to be expected. The haplogroup that John sees in his results is JM267, more commonly known as J1. A quick search reveals that haplo J1 is a major ancestral marker for many Jewish people, and its highest concentrations are found in the Middle East. It's common among various Jewish populations, including the Ashkenazi Jews. Now, John just sits there staring at the screen. The tartan on the wall suddenly feels like it's a prop. And the family crest looks more now like a foreign symbol. Campbell, J1, Cohen, Goldberg. The two sets of words don't belong. They don't belong in the same universe, let alone in one person's DNA. The DNA doesn't lie. An entire identity, a story built over a lifetime is revealed to be standing on a foundation of sand. The paternal line isn't Scottish at all. It wasn't from the Highlands. It wasn't Campbell. All the stories, all the pride, it was all for a man who wasn't John's biological great-grandfather. And a deep, hollow feeling washes over John. They are not who they thought they were, and John has no earthly idea who he is supposed to be. So to quickly recap, imagine a genealogist who believed their whole life that they were of Scottish descent, only for a Y-DNA test, the very tool they thought would confirm their heritage, to reveal that their paternal line is not Scottish at all, but Ashkenazi Jewish. Their world has been turned upside down. This journey of discovery it's exactly what this channel is about. If you're finding this story compelling, please take a moment to click the like and subscribe buttons. And if you're really enjoying it, you can also use YouTube's new hype feature. It's a way to show extra support, which is absolutely free for you, to support new videos, and this truly helps the channel grow. It tells the YouTube algorithm that you're enjoying this content, which means that it will get recommended to other budding family historians and genealogists just like you, who are looking for stories just like this. That being said, let's jump back in. And by the way, please be sure to participate in the comments below. I truly value the community that I have with my viewers, and I try to read and respond to every comment. It lets me know how I'm doing. I receive recommendations for new content, and it lets me know what you, my viewers, are interested in seeing. I enjoy the feedback, and I love in trying to answer your questions. Finally, I'm also excited to announce another way that my audience can support my channel, and that is by becoming a member in addition to subscribing. You can do so by clicking on, just simply on clicking the join button. Membership will give you access to member exclusive content. I'm working on some member exclusive content that will be early access to videos before they become public to everyone, or videos that will only be accessible to you. Also consider joining my Patreon. Patreon is a similar membership platform that allows you to directly support creators in exchange for exclusive content and perks. This will help me tremendously with the logistics of maintaining this channel and keep current with new technologies, with new methodologies, and it will help me to ensure to bring you the best content I can and always improve upon its quality. Your support means the world. It helps me create more in-depth genealogy guides, explore fascinating colonial stories, and also it enables me to connect with you through personalized content. Together, we'll uncover the rich legacies of our ancestors, we'll learn practical research strategies, and celebrate the incredible journeys that have shaped our family histories. So that being said, now let's jump back in. So after the initial shock starts to fade with John, it's replaced by one burning question. If the paternal line isn't Campbell, well then what is it? The same DNA that shattered an identity is now the only tool available to John to rebuild it. The answer must be in that match list, somewhere among the Rosenbergs, the Cohens, and the Adlers. This is where the real work begins. The detective work begins. The researcher goes from being a proud clan historian, as I said, to a genetic detective. And the Y DNA match list is the only clue John has. The way these tests work is by comparing specific markers on the Y chromosome. The number of differences between two men's markers is called the genetic distance. A tiny genetic distance, say 1 or 2 at 111 markers, suggests a common ancestor who lived fairly recently, likely within the last several hundred years. But now imagine the closest match at a genetic distance of 1 is a man named Rosenberg. This is huge. It means they are very closely related. A deep breath is taken before writing one of the strangest emails imaginable. Hello, David, it might begin. My name is John Campbell. We're a close Y DNA match. This has come as a major surprise to me since my entire known paternal line is Scottish. Your surname Rosenberg and all my other top matches are Ashkenazi Jewish. I think there's been what's called a non-paternity event, or NPE, somewhere in my recent past. Would you be willing to share your family tree so we can see where we might connect? To incredible relief, David could write back in mere hours. And as a seasoned genealogist himself, he is fascinated by this new puzzle. He graciously shares his research. The researcher, John, stares at the family tree, hunting for a ghost. He needs to find a man in David's family who could have been his biological great-grandfather. He works backward from his grandfather, who was born in 1915, and his birth certificate says his father was the Campbell immigrant. But the DNA says otherwise. That means the great-grandmother, Mary, who married the Campbell man, must have had a child with another man. David's family tree shows his ancestors come from the Russian Empire, an area that's now in modern-day Lithuania, back in the early 1900s, and settled in a crowded immigrant neighborhood in New York City. By cross-referencing this, the researcher finds that his great-grandparents' 1920 census record, he finds that they were living in New York City in the exact same neighborhood as David Rosenberg's family. Suddenly the pieces start snapping together. The great-great-grandmother, Mary, who was a young Irish immigrant, was living in a mostly Jewish neighborhood, and then diving into old newspaper archives and city directories. John's search reveals a small notice in a 1914 local paper about a garment factory fire. It lists displaced employees, and one of these displaced employees was Mary, the one great grandmother, and another is a man named Samuel Rosenberg, David's great uncle. And they worked together. John's heart's pounding at this point, and Samuel Rosenberg was the right age. He lived in the right place. He worked with with John's great grandmother, and according to David, Samuel never married. He was the family's perpetual bachelor, and it was a small family mystery. The story starts to write itself. A young Irish woman and a young Jewish man working side by side in a bustling city, both far from home. They end up having a relationship that crossed difficult cultural and religious lines. There's a pregnancy and then an impossible choice. The final piece falls into place with the original long-form birth certificate of the grandfather in the box for father's name. One name is written, then heavily scratched out. But by holding the document up to the light, faint letters can then be seen under the ink. It doesn't say Campbell, it says Samuel. The grandfather, John Campbell, was actually born John Rosenberg. His mother, Mary, later married the Campbell immigrant, a kind man who must have agreed to raise her son as his own, giving him the Campbell name and a new identity. This, folks, this wasn't a malicious lie. It was a story of love, and it was a story of survival. A young mother made a desperate choice to give her son a name and a future, and that buried a secret so deep it took a century and a DNA test to find it. The lie wasn't a betrayal. It was in fact an act of protection. And finding out the truth about a story like Samuel and Mary, it does change everything. And for weeks, a person can feel like a stranger in their own skin. They look in the mirror and they see someone they don't know, and the name was the name Campbell, which was once a source of immense pride for John, can suddenly feel borrowed, like it's a costume worn for so long that they forget that it isn't real. So Is the person still a Campbell? Well, yes and no. Then the name is still theirs. The family who raised them, the father who told them stories, the grandfather that they adored, they were all Campbells. Their love, their history, and their values, that's all woven into who the person is. That part of the identity is real, and it can never be taken away. This experience teaches that family is so much more than just DNA. The man who stepped in may not have been the biological great-grandfather, but he chose to be a father, and that makes him a hero. And his name and legacy will always be honored. But John is also a Rosenberg. There's a whole new history to learn, a history of shuttles in Lithuania, of pogroms and perseverance of journeys to America and new beginnings. New biological cousins may welcome them with open arms, sharing photos and stories. They might say they can even see a family resemblance in the eyes. For the first time, John can look at a biological family tree and see themselves reflected back. This whole journey teaches us that identity isn't a fixed point. It's not one single story. It's in fact a complex, layered tapestry that's woven from biology, culture, love, and choice. And the Y-DNA test didn't erase John's identity. It just added a new, rich, and completely unexpected layer to it. A person may not be descended from Scottish warriors, but they are descended from survivors. People who navigated a tough world and made choices, both secret and open, that allowed for their existence today. And for that, there is incredible gratitude. A person's name might be Campbell, but their biological paternal line is Rosenberg. And through genealogy, they can finally start to understand what it means to be both. Now I ask you, have you ever had a DNA surprise that completely changed how you see your family's history? It can be an incredibly strange but also enriching experience. Please share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your own journeys of discovery. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about the secrets hidden in our genes and in our stories. Thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Eric with Trace Your New England Roots, where history starts with your family.